It started with a strange text from Maya, my best friend since high school. "Hey, were you at the library last night? Around 8? I waved at you, but you just stared and walked away." I frowned at the message, reading it twice. I wasn't at the library. In fact, I hadn't even left my apartment yesterday. I'd been curled up in bed, watching old horror movies and nursing a migraine. I replied, "What are you talking about?" "I was home all night." She didn't text back immediately, which was unlike her. I could almost feel her hesitation through the silence. A few hours later, she called. "I'm not messing with you, Leah," she said. "You were there. Same clothes you wore last Thursday. Black hoodie, jeans with that little tear on the lefty knee. You even had your red backpack." My stomach sank a little. That was oddly specific. I had worn that outfit last week, but I hadn't worn it since. And my red backpack was still hanging on the hook behind my door, exactly where I left it. "Maybe someone just looked like me?" I offered, trying to laugh it off. "No," she said firmly. "I know you, it was you. But you looked weird." I paused. "Weird how?" "I don't know," Maya whispered. "You didn't smile. You didn't blink. You just stared at me like you didn't recognize me. Then you turned and walked toward the history wing. It freaked me out." The more I thought about it, the more unsettled I felt. But I didn't want to scare myself over nothing. I told her maybe she'd had a long day. Maybe it was someone else. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Maya's words. "You looked weird." I knew she wasn't the type to joke about things like this. Around 2 a.m., I finally drifted off. I had a dream that didn't feel like a dream at all. I was walking through the library. Cold, quiet, abandoned. The lights flickered, and somewhere in the distance, I heard footsteps that weren't mine. I turned a corner, and standing at the far end of the aisle was me. Same black hoodie, same jeans, same dead-eyed stare. She didn't move. She didn't speak. She just watched me. And I stood frozen, watching her back, until I woke up drenched in sweat. The next morning, I checked my backpack, just to be sure. Everything was there. My books, my sketchpad, except my keychain. The small silver owl I'd had since middle school. Gone. That was when I realized Maya might have seen more than just someone who looked like me. Maybe, somehow she saw something else. Something that shouldn't exist. And it was wearing my face. Do you want me to continue with the second segment? The next few days blurred into an anxious haze. I tried to carry on like everything was fine, but the memory of that dream, her face, my face, stayed with me like a shadow stitched to my back. On Tuesday, I ran into my neighbor, Mrs. Hall, in the hallway. She's usually warm and chatty, but that morning, she just stared at me, lips pressed tight. "You're up early," she said cautiously. I blinked. "What do you mean?" She tilted her head. "Saw you leave around 5 this morning. Didn't expect you back already." My skin prickled. I hadn't left the apartment at all, not even to take the trash out. I think you might have seen someone else," I said, forcing a smile. She didn't respond. Just gave me a strange look and walked away. I rushed back inside, double-checked all the doors and windows, then sat in silence for almost an hour. The idea that something, might be out there, walking around pretending to be me, was no longer just a creepy thought. It was real. And it was getting bolder. I told myself I needed evidence, something solid. I set up my old webcam on a shelf in my living room and aimed it at the front door. That night I left the lights off and pretended to sleep on the couch, hoping for... I don't even know what. Around 2:47 a.m., the door handle rattled. I froze. The camera's red light blinked faintly in the darkness as I stared at the doorknob. I waited for it to move again. For a knock, a bang, anything. But after that brief rattle, everything went still. I didn't sleep. In the morning, I checked the footage. There was nothing. No sound, no movement. But when I paused the video at 2:47, for just one frame, I saw her, me, standing just outside the frosted glass, barely visible, but there. And she was smiling. That day I showed the screenshot to Maya. Her face went pale. "That's her," she said. "That's who I saw." I asked her if she remembered which way the copy of me had gone in the library. She nodded. Toward the old archive room. It used to be a records room, but now it's basically abandoned. I decided to go back with Maya, even though everything inside me screamed not to. We arrived at the campus library just before sunset, when most students had already gone. The building felt colder than I remembered. As we walked past the main shelves and descended the narrow stairs to the archive section, the air grew heavy, like the walls were holding their breath. The door to the archive room was unlocked. The lights flickered once when we stepped in and then, of course, died completely. We used our phones for light. Rows of old cabinets lined the walls, dusty and neglected. Maya stayed close. Then we saw it, my sketchpad, lying open on the floor. I hadn't brought it. I hadn't even taken it out of my apartment since high school. Yet there it was, open to a page I didn't remember drawing. A pencil sketch of a girl's face, staring directly at me. My face. But her eyes were pitch black. Maya whispered, "Leah, look behind you." I turned slowly. There was no one there, but the cold. It wasn't just in the air anymore. It was inside me. And something told me, this wasn't just a copy. It was trying to become me. "Do you want the final segment now?" I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The cold had settled deep in my bones, like ice threading through my veins. Maya grabbed my arm and whispered, "We need to go." But I couldn't take my eyes off the sketchpad. The drawing, my face. It was changing right in front of me. The smile on the page stretched wider, the eyes growing darker, like the graphite itself was alive. Then we heard it, a faint sound from deeper in the archive room. It was soft at first, like breathing, but not quite. It was more like mimicry, the sound of someone pretending to breathe. We turned our phone lights toward the back of the room. There, half concealed by a tall filing cabinet, was a shape, not moving, not speaking, just standing, watching. My mouth went dry. I took one step forward, heart pounding so hard I could barely hear Maya anymore. It stepped into the light. It was me. But not me. My body, my clothes, even the scratch on my wrist I got last weekend. All there. But the expression was off. Too perfect, like someone wearing a mask of me, stretching my features over something inhuman. Its head tilted. Then, with a voice identical to mine, it said softly, "You don't belong anymore." Maya gasped, pulling me back. "We have to go. Now." We stumbled out of the archive room and ran up the stairs, not daring to look back. The lights overhead flickered violently as we passed. And I could swear I heard that fake breathing behind us, closer now, mocking us. We didn't stop running until we were outside in the freezing air, gasping, shaking. I turned to look at the library doors. She was there, behind the glass, smiling. And then she raised her hand and waved, like she'd won. That night I couldn't go home, I stayed at Maya's place, and even there I barely slept. Every noise outside made me jump. Every time I looked in a mirror, I wondered if the reflection would mimic me a second too late. The next morning, I returned to my apartment to get a few things. That's when I found the note, folded neatly on my kitchen counter, in my handwriting. You don't need this life anymore. I'm doing better with it than you ever did. No one had broken in, no forced locks, no open windows. But things were off. My books were arranged differently. My tea mugs had been washed and put away, even though I'd left one in the sink. Someone had been living there. Someone still was. I left the apartment and didn't go back. I couldn't. I stayed with Maya for the next few days, desperately trying to think of what to do. We talked about going to the police, but what would we even say? That a copy of me had taken my life? They'd lock me up for sure. Then Maya got a message. It was from me, my account, my number, my words. Let's meet, just us. You deserve to know the truth. I begged her not to go, told her to block the number, but Maya, she's loyal, too loyal. She went. She never came back. That was 2 weeks ago. Her phone was found in the same library basement, cracked in half. No fingerprints, no footage. Just her final message to me before the meeting. If this isn't you, then whatever it is, it's pretending perfectly. I know what it's doing now. It's replacing me. Slowly, carefully. It's already started with Maya. Probably others. Maybe when you saw me walking down the street last week, smiling a little too wide, that wasn't me. Maybe it's still watching you now. Maybe it already waved. Because here's the truth I've come to accept. Whatever this thing is, it's not just a doppelgänger. It doesn't want to look like me. It wants to become me. And the scariest part? I don't think the world will even notice when I'm gone.